What is up, everyone? My name will be Josh. This is Strain Central, and today we are going to be talking about tolerance breaks. So there was a lot of support on that last video, and I very much appreciate every single one of you. There was a lot of really supportive, forward comments, and I appreciate the openness and the honesty. But I am today 76 days sober. Over the next few weeks, I more than likely will be doing some CBD content as well as reviewing some vaporizers with CBD. So I'm not entirely cutting out the cannabis plant from my life, but as of now, I'm still not going to be smoking and probably won't be for the next few months. But today, I'm going to be talking about something that has kind of, mostly in streaming, been addressed. So I'm streaming a lot over at twitch.tv/straingaming, and a lot of people over there have kind of asked what they can do to actually start their own tolerance breaks. Because I know tolerance breaks are never really a fun thing to actually have to manage. I still notice almost 3 months not smoking. I'm having a really hard time sleeping. My anxiety is getting a little bit easier to manage, but that's also been something that's been a huge thing for me. And then also, I've just noticed the mental clarity is kind of just now starting to show itself. I was just mentally I can only really describe it as foggy when I was consuming the amounts that I was. And there's a lot going on in the Washington state cannabis world right now. There's a bunch of laws in effect that are basically saying that you can only smoke concentrate that has 10% THC in it, which I personally think is kind of absurd. If it was like a 40 or 50% limit, I might kind of understand that. Even then, we're getting in weird territory trying to limit the consumption of concentrates for adults. They're basically saying recreational users can only smoke concentrates that are 10% THC. Which is really dumb because you can find weed like flower that's upwards of 30 sometimes. So if it was 40 or 50, like I said, I might kind of understand that. But even then, it's just really sketchy territory trying to tell an adult human being what amount of THC they can smoke. Because you can supplement that with flower if you're really looking to. And I assume that's probably mostly for, the psychosis reasons. If you're consuming massive amounts of THC concentrate daily, basically freebasing, dabbing, whatever we want to call it, there is, especially for adolescent brains under the age of 26, going to be some negative mental effects. But we're the test dummies, so we don't know exactly what the effects are really going to be. That being said, Washington State's all fucked up because our liquor control board is also our cannabis control board, so we have a bunch of people who really only know about alcohol trying to limit cannabis concentrates. And it's then why do they sell Everclear that's 80% alcohol? Why don't we start limiting the percentage of liquor as well? We tried that in Prohibition, and how did that work? So, I just had to rant about that really quick. I think that's a ridiculous thing Washington's trying to do right now, and I actually kind of do want to go down and actually speak possibly at the hearing for that. It's coming up here pretty soon. But, we're going to talk today about tolerance breaks, because tolerance breaks kind of suck. It's not an easy thing to do, and it's mostly because I hate using the word addictive. Cannabis is, in most people's eyes, a non-addictive miracle drug that has no addictive properties. So we'll use the word dependence today, just to kind of lighten that topic a little bit. But a lot of people are dependent on cannabis every day. It's a part of their daily routine. It's a part of their daily habit. And what that means is we use it for a lot of things: anxiety, sleep, eating better, being calmer. So when you take tolerance breaks, you're going to notice a couple things. One, you're going to feel a lot more of your emotions much stronger. A lot of people smoke weed to, help with their anger issues, or like I said, help with their anxiety issues. So when you stop smoking it for any amount of time, you're going to feel a lot of those emotions much, much, much stronger. I'm saying that 100% from experience. I'm still almost 3 months in and learning how to actually deal with real big boy adult emotions at this point. Another thing that's going to really be affected is sleep, like I've said, and that's going to probably lead those emotional reactions to be a little bit stronger because you're not getting the normal sleep you normally get. And the last thing is going to be, like I said, mostly food and eating and things surrounding eating. Your appetite's probably not going to be 100% there. So we're going to cover kind of things that I have found that make a couple of those processes a little bit easier. And I'm also going to talk about just time and length of tolerance breaks. I was one who always used to take 2 4-day tolerance breaks and be like, whoa, I just fucking didn't smoke for 4 days. I'm good. And then you go back to actually consuming and you consume the normal amount that you were, And it gets you really, really high the first couple times, but then you're immediately back into the exact same amount of consumption. So I personally would say time-wise, like what's the best time to actually take a tolerance break for, would honestly probably be between a week and 2 weeks. Realistically, it's probably a month, but I know a lot of people can't go a month without smoking weed, which does show the dependent aspect of things. So if you don't agree that cannabis is addictive or cannabis has a level of dependence surrounding it, don't smoke it for a month. And I know your justification is probably, well, I could, but I don't want to because it makes my life better. And I'm not trying to take that away from you. I fully understand that point. But realistically, cannabis is not physically super addictive. It's not like benzos, it's not like alcohol, that you stop drinking it and start having these terrible physical reactions that could potentially kill you, like seizures, shakes, sweats, high heart rate, whatever it is. That being said, there's quite a big level of mental dependence surrounding cannabis use. Because, like I said, a lot of people use it to supplement their life in different ways. When you take that supplement away, you're dealing with life on a much more real level and on its terms, its own terms. So it's definitely something that some people have a hard time actually putting down because it regulates a lot of their normal daily function. So we'll kind of get into some of the things it regulates and what I've been using personally in my little journey of sobriety. I definitely am going to start with sleep because that's the biggest one and also probably one of the easiest answers here. There's a lot of different things you can use if you're struggling with sleep, be it melatonin, chamomile tea, valerian root tea. There's a lot of things that naturally calm your brain down that don't just have to be THC. And the really cool thing you'll find in most tolerance breaks is you'll actually start dreaming again, simply because THC itself suppresses your REM sleep cycle. Your REM sleep cycle is when you dream. So in the 7 years I smoked weed, I didn't dream literally almost ever. And for some people that's a lifesaver because they have nightmares, reoccurring nightmares every night. So smoking before bed suppresses that REM cycle and makes it so they're not miserably sleeping. They're actually getting a normal night's sleep. But that's one thing you'll notice immediately after taking a tolerance break, after about the first week or so, is you start having very, very, very vivid dreams. And a lot of your dreams, you'll actually remember the entirety of your dream. So that's definitely a plus to everything. But sleep is not easy on tolerance breaks. So I definitely suggest supplementing with something and also just like maybe working out throughout the day. So working out during a tolerance break actually helps a lot of different aspects. It helps kind of shut your body down and get you tired. And then it also helps just get the THC kind of out of your body. So if you're looking to like pass a drug test, you have a drug test coming up soon, work the fuck out because you need to sweat that THC out of your fat cells. And that's one of the only things that's going to do it. Just basically working out and hydrating. So if you work out and hydrate pretty consistently throughout your tolerance break, you will notice your tolerance dropping quicker than if you were to just be sitting around doing nothing. The next thing we're going to kind of cover is just emotions. This is the harder one. This is one that we're going to get a little hippy-dippy into. So meditation is a really, really big way to start dealing and handling a lot of emotions. And then implementing things like cognitive behavioral therapy or RET, which is rational emotive therapy or rational emotive thinking. Basically, the idea surrounding both of those two things is, so you're going to have a feeling and you're immediately going to react with an emotion. And emotional reactions are not always off the cuff the best things to actually play out. It's going to make your anxiety worse, it's going to make your anger worse, it's going to make whatever emotion you're actually having or feeling far worse. So what you need to get in the habit of trying to do is having something happen, having a reaction to a situation. So something plays out, you run that first through your thoughts and beliefs, and you have to have healthy thoughts and beliefs surrounding that situation. Why are you feeling this way? What's your actual true feeling? Why are they feeling whatever it is if it's a problem with someone else? And just run it through some actual thoughts and beliefs before you have that off-the-cuff reaction, and putting that buffer in between instead of just reacting, which a lot of us are really good at, is going to kind of give you some time to think things through and could very well make your emotional reaction far less just apparent and like it's not going to be a blow-up situation. So there's definitely techniques, and you learn a lot of these things in therapy realistically. Look up CBT or RHC and kind of like Google through some of that stuff and just learn how to process some of those things. And it will make your anxiety far less bad, especially with meditation, with yoga, really actually connecting with your brain. Because as cannabis consumers, we tend to smoke a lot of the time for emotion. We tend to, when we're feeling something that we really don't want to feel, instead of healthily overcoming that, just smoke and kind of fall away or forget it. And I'm not saying that's everyone, that's a very generalized assumption I'm making there, because a lot of people use weed to, rationally think through things or view things from a different angle. And I personally am kind of under the thought process that it's healthiest to view things from two sides. So I know something a lot of people do is they live, half their day sober, thinking through things and thinking through situations sober, smoke, get that different perspective. And the really important part if you're doing something like that is to take the perspective you got from smoking, write it down, make sure it's locked in somewhere, and then view that again sober. So constantly be comparing your thoughts and your emotions, your sober emotions and your non-sober emotions, because you can learn from both of them, like heavily. And it's something that I think a lot of people do struggle with. I know I myself was in that boat for a long time. And then the last big one I do have to cover here, like I said, is simply just eating. This is, for me, one of the harder ones, because I don't really have a whole lot of suggestion on this. I would say if you're planning on taking a tolerance break, one of the best things you could possibly do is just get food that you actually enjoy eating, and get food that's not super hard to cook. Sometimes it's nice to cook a big nice meal and get your mind off of the fact that you're on a tolerance break, but it's not always easy to eat said meal. So I definitely suggest, just trying to stock up on some actual foods that you enjoy eating, some snacks that are really easy to eat. And if it really comes down to it, go get Ensures or Pedialyte or something that can supplement some nutrition in shake form. Because there's a lot of those out there for people that are struggling. And I know when I was malnourished, basically survived off those. Those things pretty much saved my life. But I am going to go ahead and say it is definitely a hard process learning how to eat sober again. Because food, usually it starts out as like, I'm smoking weed before I eat because everything tastes better. And it makes your appetite bigger and you eat more. And for people with like eating disorders and stuff like that, that's huge. It's life-saving for them alone. So there's a lot of positive behind that. But there's also people who, smoke and just eat the entire fucking fridge. And they're like, whoops, well, I just gained 10 pounds. So there's two sides to that as well. But those are kind of like on the very baseline level, some easy tricks and tips you can implement throughout your tolerance breaks. Like I said, there's no real amount of time that's like the perfect amount of time. I suggest a month, at least try 2 weeks. A week you'll still get some kind of effects, and even a couple of days I've noticed back in the day I would get some kind of an effect. It kind of all depends on what your motive and intent is through tolerance break. If you're really just looking to, financially save some money, stop smoking so goddamn much weed, then it's a pretty easy thing to do a week and actually cut that tolerance down quite a bit. But if you go for a month and you come back instead of like right where you left off and smoking like 2-3 joints in a row, you just take little super teeny hits, you'll kind of rebuild that tolerance and it will almost be like, the first time that you actually smoked again. So it's all dependent on the person. And it does take a lot of effort, a lot of drive to actually just go on a tolerance break in the first place. So it's mostly up to you. I just wanted to talk. That was fun. I just wanted to talk a little bit about my experiences surrounding tolerance breaks and in this little journey of sobriety I'm on right now. Kind of some stuff I've experienced. I definitely know my first, I'm going to say week and a half, almost probably 14 days actually, the anxiety I was dealing with was very, very heavy. And that was mostly because I was coming off several different substances. I was a polysubstance abuser. I was coming off of mostly Adderall, cannabis, and alcohol. Alcohol was my biggest demon. But coming off all of those things kind of cold turkey, I guess I hadn't taken Adderall in like a solid 6 months, but specifically alcohol and cannabis combined, I had pretty severe, intense physical withdrawal symptoms from the alcohol for about a week or so. But the anxiety kind of stuck around until about week 2 of rehab, somewhere around 14 days in. And my memory is just now starting to come back about 3 months in. I've heard it can take 6 months to a year for your brain to really heal though and get that full like return to normalcy. So we'll see how long I do actually, stay away from weed. I can pretty confidently say I will more than likely never be a daily cannabis consumer again. I love the plant. I'll always be an advocate for the plant. I'm always going to make cannabis content, especially educational cannabis content. But I don't know if I'm going to return to that daily relationship with weed. It has a special place in my heart. My brain is just, it's almost far too clear at this point to even have much of a desire to go back to smoking. I feel like it's much more easy for me to talk fluently. It's much more easy for me to communicate with other people. And it just feels really good to be about 3 months sober. So it's possible for anyone. I know it's not an easy process. I know it's a daunting process. Trust me, cannabis is my entire career. It's what I came up off. It's a big part of my life, so it was not an easy thought to come to terms with. But now that I have some distance away from that, I feel good. So I know a lot of you guys feel good smoking weed, and that's a decision I fully respect. I'm not trying to stand here on my pedestal and be like, you shouldn't smoke weed, because I'll never do that. I'll always be an advocate for the medical benefits of this plant and the positive recreational aspects it can have for a lot of people. But this was just a quick little rant and ramble. I'll be back with some actual vaporizer content and, like I said, some CBD content here soon. I definitely hope every single one of you is having yourself an absolutely incredible day. If you have some free time, one more time, twitch.tv/straingaming. I'm doing about 6 days a week of gaming over there for like 6 to 8 hours a day. So there's content all over the place. And I'm probably going to try to eventually get back to at least weekly videos on this channel, if not a little bit more. So I love y'all. Have a great rest of your day. Stay positive. Stay medicated. Peace, guys.